Thank you very much, Dr. Sangeeta Kumari, uh, most respected chairman of this webinar, Dr. Sanjeev Kumar Singh, eminent archaeologist and conservationist, Professor Rajiv Sinha sir, Professor Shiv Bahadur ji, and Dr. Vibhas Kumar and Mithun Kumar. So it is really indeed a matter of great pleasure for me to get associated with Heritage Consortium, as well as three other organizations which are collaborating this conference or webinar, Virasitam or Heritage Restore and then Rudra Conservation Preservation Private Limited, Patna. So really the topic or main theme of this webinar has been chosen and during this pandemic period, that challenges and prospects of our this archaeological as well as conservation of our heritage, cultural heritage. So, and I am going to speak. I am not a archaeologist as well as I am not a person who has a sound background of conservation or ancient history, but I am going to speak something on Buddhist education available in our Pali Tripitaka as well as in the commentaries also. So I will speak that what was the concept of Buddhist education in ancient India, how Mahavihar concept was developed after parinirvana of the Buddha, and how the cultural heritage as a great center of learning, Mahavihar, developed and it was disseminated into different parts of the world like Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Thailand, and Tibet, China, and other parts of the country, other parts of the world. So I am going to speak something on dissemination of the Buddhist education to the Southeast Asian countries and the importance of cultural heritage of our Mahavihar as a great center of learning, and what are the importance during this pandemic period and how can overcome through our Buddhist teachings of the Buddha to our overcome of these challenges. So I will speak something about first of all Buddhist education. As we are aware that Buddhist education is a concept which was developed during the period of the Buddha. And as we are aware that there were two cultures at the time of the 6th century BC, Brahmanic culture and Shramanic cultures. And this Buddhist system of education which was developed at the time of the Buddha during the period, and Mahavir and Gautam Buddha, they were belonging to the Shramanic period, and Brahmanic culture was coming from very past. So we are having references of Brahman and Shramanic culture in our Pali as well as in Buddhist Sanskrit text. So this meaning of Brahman and Shramana, we are also aware that Buddhism does not believe in the concept of the creator or God or Almighty creator. But just opposite to in Brahmanism, we are having that there is a concept of Almighty God there. Buddhism believes in the no concept in the caste system or any religion. But just opposite in Brahmanism, we are having the concept of caste system there. And Brahmanic tradition believe in the tradition by birth, also Varna Ashram, while Shravanic traditions believes in our Kambabad, that is the tradition by the deeds, actions, whether it is moral or immoral actions. And we are also aware that Buddhism believes in the Samtavad, Sabbe Chattaro Banna Samsama Honti. So there is a concept in that. So I am not going to discuss all these things, but how the concept of Buddhist educations and what is the concept of education. First of all, I would like to discuss that education is a very effective mode of communications to transmit our ethical norms to an individual person. It has been defined by scholars and philosophers in different manners. According to Aristotle, he says that education is a supreme power that encompasses the whole society. Again, the Plato says that it is a different approach to the education. And according to him, he says that education takes a person from the mental development to the physical development. And again, in the J. Rosso comes out with the argument that this education term is related with the nature, people, and from the things which are available to us. So these are the terms which have been discussed by the different philosophers. But coming to Pestolo, he has given a concept of 3H concept, that is the head, heart, and hands. Our head signifies the sense of the knowledge, and heart gives the sense of the attitude or behavior, and the hands which are signifying the skills. So there is a similar notion within the Buddhist concept also, and in the text we are having the references that the term education has been discussed in the sense of Sonath, Dharat, and Charat Dhamme, that listen it properly, digest it properly, and behave according to the teachings of the Buddha. So this is the concept which has come in our teachings of the Buddha available in our Pali literature. Said that Sonath means that listen it properly, Dharat that hold it properly, or you can say digest it properly, and Charat Dhamme, and it distribute among the common people for the welfare of the human beings in a very peaceful manner. So this is the concept which has come in the world. But close to this concept, we are having also 3H concept in our Pali Tripitaka also, like that there are three concepts, Sikha, Vinay, and Yan or Panya. So these are the three concepts which are signifying the concept of education. So Sikha in Sanskrit it is called as Siksha, or you can say education. But here it is in the sense of trainings, that Sikhit Abathena Sikha, that Sikhas are those trainings which can be trained to the people repeatedly again and again. And it has been defined by Acharya Dhammapal that Sikhit Bhattena Sikha, that it is in the sense of Asevana, that by repeating the trainings for the welfare of human beings, this is called as Sikha. And there are three types of Sikha: Adhisil Sikha, Adhichit Sikha, and Adhipanya Sikha. So these are the three types of trainings which are meant for the common people for getting a state of eternal bliss. So this is the concept which are available for the Sikha. There is another concept which is for the Binay. In literal sense, we say that Binay is the discipline. But here in Pali Tripitaka, Binay is in the sense of Vivid Visesanayatta, Bineto Chev Kaya Vachanam, Binat Biduhi Ayam Binio Binio Pi Akhatam, that prescribing by the several norms related with the physical and the vocal, this is called as Binay, and curtailing the physical and vocal misdeeds, this is called as Binay. So Binay is that by disciplining a person by curtailment of the physical and vocal misdeeds. And there is another term for the education which is coming at the panya or yan. So here it is yan as it is the kusal chitta sampayutam vipassana yanam ti panya. So it is in the sense of moral consciousness associated with the insight that is called as a right understanding, or you can say panya. So in that sense, it is called as through the panya, a person is able to dispel the darkness of ignorance, moha or avidya, and through by dispelling the ignorance of ignorance, a person comes to know that all things are subject to impermanence, all things are subject to suffering, and all dhammas are subject to soulless. So, in that sense, the aim of the education is to build a disciplined person, and Binay cultivates one educations until its final goal, eternal bliss, is not being achieved. The practical side of education must be integrated with the potentialities of the human nature. So Buddhist education must aim to inculcate values as much as to impart information. So it must be directed not merely towards developing social and commercial skills, but towards nurturing the students, the seed of the spiritual mobility, that is the adhyatmic vikas or development of, in the sense of the spiritual attainments. So this is the concept which are related with education. But there are two aspects of the teachings of the Buddha. First is the rationality of the mind, and second is the causality of the Buddhism. So through the rationality of the mind, a person controls his mind. And the second aspect, that is called as the causality, through which everything is said that there is no self-independent entity. Everything comes into existence dependent on some cause and conditions. So everything, whatever we are having, so based upon these two aspects, the Buddhist educations which was developed in our sense of Buddhist education in ancient India. So as we know that after the Dhammacakka Pavartana, Sut preaching at the Sarnath, Buddha, the Blessed One, formed the Sangha with the 61 people, and the Sangha started. So in course of time, as the Sangha expanded in all the dimensions, clear sanction of the five lenas. In the Mahabharata, we are having the references of that Buddha prescribed the five types of avasas or residential places, which are called as a lenas. So these lenas are meant for the, you can say, residential place for the bhikkhu or bhikkhunis. So these lenas are called as Adhjog, Bihar, Pasad, Hammiya, and Guva. So in Mahabharata, there is a detailed descriptions of these five types of residential places. So these proved to be a great asset to the development of our Buddhist order. So in course of rainy retreat or Vassavas, they used to stay at Bihara or Hammiya Guha or whatever Sangharam. Later on, there was a concept. So the main Mahabharata, the first book of Vinay Pitak, gives a detailed enumeration of the number of such constructions by the householders for the use of the monks and nuns living in the Sangha. So thus these avasas or lenas or resting place for the Buddhist Sangha came to be known as Vihara. So how the concept of Vihara and Mahavihara is coming, I will give in a very brief manner. That in Manorath Purani, the commentary of Anguttara Nikaya, we are having a references that Buddha encourages to give the donations for the construction of the avasas or the Mahavihar or Biharaj. And in the mm, Center for Biharaj, it has been written in the Manorath Purni that there might be some more than 1,000 monks residing in monasteries, and they are practicing vipassana. There will be no any fruitful until unless paryatti or teachings of the Buddha are not rehearsed or not scriptural texts are being rehearsed. So this was the that until unless you do not go through the scriptures, there will be no any fruitful of vipassana or meditation aspects. So in that sense, the people who were practicing vipassana or meditation at that time, they were encouraged to go through the scriptures available in Vinay Pitaka, Sut Pitaka, and Abhidhamma Pitaka. So in that way, Bihar were developed as a center of learning. So in the Pali text, we are having so many references that how there was a concept of Sangharam or Biharaj. In course of time, Buddha also allows the use of the dwelling place for other seasons also, not only for Basavas, but other, you can say, retreats also. And some centuries must have elapsed before the Avasas came into be a organized form and had a distinct existence. Previously, it was only meant for the retreat, but it may have been taken more than 100 years for taking a shape of center of higher learning or Mahavihar. So it can be said that within the periphery of Awas or lodging houses were known as Bihar, or in course of time they developed from the single eremitical to a large congregational type from Biharas into monasteries. The development of Buddhist Biharas all over India can be traced from the architectural remains. If you go through the Devala Mitra books, Buddhist monuments, and through the Buddhist monuments, it can be presumed that most of the more than 70% architectural remains are belonging to Buddhist. So, in that sense, the Biharas turn into most important institutions in these, as these were the only seeds out of which grew only academic institutions like Nalanda Mahabihar or Bikramsila Mahabihar or the Odantapuri Mahabihar. So we are having the scholars like S.D. Sankalia and others who are also remarking that the purpose of main Biharaj, or you can say the residential retreat of for the monks, that was in the words of Buddha was to give Biharaj to the Sangha, where in safety and in peace to meditate and think to at ease also. So Buddha calls the best of gifts that who are giving the donations for the constructions of Biharas. This is considered as a great gift. So let them able men regarding his own will have pleasant monasteries built and lodge these learned. So we are having Jetvan Aram Bihar or whatever the Sangha Arams we are having, they were constructed by the persons. So these Biharas gradually became the abode of the learned man and higher academic studies, and they were pursued in that. So the study of these students in the monasteries included in the Shastras, the Pitakas, or you can say the Vidyas, Panch Mahavidyas or Mahavidyas, which comprises the four Vedas, six Angas, the 10 Granthas, the 18 types of Silp Vidyas, and 64 types of Kal. Besides this, we are also having references that Jyotish Puran, Itihas, they were also taught in the Mahavihar and other things. So, in after the Mahaparinirvan, we are having that how this Paryatti and Patipatti, that is the teaching that original teachings of the Buddha available in our canonical literatures, and practicing through the meditations, that is the Patipatti, they were developed in Mahavihar later on. So these academic activities of the Mahavihar or Vihar, in the due course, they lost their insular character, and the Buddhist monks and teachers endeavor to acquire profundity in other branches of learning. So later on, these monasteries naturally became the nucleus of later Buddhist universities, which in subsequent ages played such glorious roles in the intellectual life of India and lands beyond India. So these Viharas and Mahavihar, the centers of the higher learning, they were developed in other countries like Tibet. We are having that seven eminent teachers from the Nalanda. They were visiting to Tibet for the propagation of Buddhism also. And there is an exchange of acharyas from Tibet to our India also. So in that way, they were developing our uh, 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 teachings of the Buddha in our other parts of the body. So in Tibet, the whole teachings of the Buddha were, you can say, established by the eminent acharyas from the Nagarjun, Kamal Sil, or other acharyas. They visited time to time. So those classes which were taught in the Biharas, they were mainly the curriculum that will be later developed in Tibetan college also. So in Tibet, we are having Samya Mahavihar and others. And it is said that Samya Mahavihar was developed on the model of the Udantapuri Mahavihar in India, on the basis of Nalanda. Also, other colleges at Tibet, they were developed. And the philosophy of Acharya Nagarjuna and other, they were also established in those Abhidharma text, especially to Sarvastivada traditions. They were established in Tibet also. So we are having that how the acharyas were sent from Nalanda to Tibet and other China to establish the Buddhist system of education there. And thus even not only Buddhist education system, but the architectural style of construction of the Biharas, they were also, you can say, copied in Tibet and other countries also. So this is the, you can say, that how this Nalanda Mahavihar, which was renowned only for the ancient time for the higher studies, and even in Afghanistan, we are having that how on the model of the Nalanda Mahavihar, now Bihar was also developed in Afghanistan, and there were some Biharas which were meant for only for the Abhidhammic study and imparting Abhidhammic educations there. So we are having that how Sangharam, even Sangharam Bhallik monastery in Afghanistan, they were also developed especially for the Abhidhammic group of study. So, according to the travels of Xuan Chang, the Nau Bihar was the abode of only those learned monks who had at least composed one text before getting entry into the Nau Bihar of Afghanistan. So, and these Nau Bihar was also especially meant for the Vipassana and other, you can say, Patipatti trainings also. So this Nau Bihar in Afghanistan, it was also very much developed there. So in Kapisa also we are in Afghanistan at Kapisa, we are also that some caves were meant for the princes from the princes of the China who used to come there for having meditational practices also. So we are having the references in our there in Afghanistan. Again, in the Thailand or Laos or in Cambodia, we are having that this Nalanda Mahavihar system of Buddhist education was also developed there in Thailand, Laos, and Cambodia. So in Cambodia, we are also having that this Buddhist education of system, which was available in Nalanda. They were also introduced there, and the method of learning the was carried out only in a traditional way in the monastery with a boards of the senior monks, teachings of the young monks and novices. So at the time of Hunan, Sanskrit-based Hinyan Buddhism was also flourishing under the royal patronage of Kushan dynasty, spread to Nagar Nom as recorded by Lama Taranath. So we are having references that how again in Myanmar as well as in Sri Lanka, we are having this Mahavihar system of educations, and we are having that how Arhant Mahind, who was dispatched as a missionary team at the time of King Ashoka, and how Arhant Mahind had been there, and there was when he was meeting with the king of Sri Lanka, Devanam Piyatis, then Mahamegh garden was consecrated, or you can say it was developed as a Mahavihar for and this Mahavihar later developed as a Anuradhapur Mahavihar, and we are having that how Anuradhapur Mahavihar was developed as a center of higher Buddhist learning. And besides this Anuradhapur Mahavihar, we are having references of Jetwan Mahavihar, sorry, Abhaygiri Mahavihar and Jetwan Mahavihar in Sri Lanka. Especially these two, Abhaygiri Mahavihar and Jetwan Mahavihar, they were devoted for only Sanskrit Buddhist text also. So Anuradhapur Mahavihar, that was only on the model of the Nalanda. And whatever the Nalandas, even Tibet, whatever we are having the system of Buddhist educations, the same Buddhist of educations is also available in Tibet. That is why Tibetans claim themselves that in Tibet there is a Nalanda traditions of Buddhism, because the teachers of the Nalanda, they have developed their teachings in Tibet, and on the same model of the Odantapuri or Nalanda Mahavihar, the monasteries were also developed there. So this is that how Nalanda, the Buddhist system of education, how they were developed in other you can say countries besides India. So we are coming that how this some of the importance I will discuss that how Buddhist monasteries as a Mahavihar or as a center of great higher Buddhist educations, they were developed there. And as we know that in the concept of Mahavihar, it is also available in our some of the Pali text also, like Pachitya and Chulubagga. In Pachitya, we are also having references that it is said that Ten Khopan Samayam Bhagwa Buddho Savatya Biharati Jetvan Anath Pandaka Biharasa. And it is further said that Tatra Kho Sat Sattar Sama 70 Bhikkhu Anyataram Pachantam Mahaviharam Udiyarati. So in the Chulubag also we are having the references that how Sanghasa Mahaviharam Udiyarati, that for the Sangha, the construction of Mahavihar is being developed. And in the Samanpasadika, we are having that how Buddha Ghosh also refers about the Mahavihar Vasinam. And there was a school which was developed as a Mahavihar on based upon the model of Nalanda Mahavihar. And though that school was also called as a Mahavihar Vasinam. And we are also having a references of Mahavihar Vasinam in Sri Lanka also, and later on it was developed as one of the schools at at Sri Lanka, and later on they are also called as Vibhajyavadins. And in Kathavathu Atkatha, we are having the references of Vibhajyavadins and Mandal Bihar Vasinam and Vibhajyavadins. So these are also that how this system of Buddhist educations as a Mahabihar and the monks which were dwelling in those Mahavihar as a center of great learning, they were called as Mahavihar Vasinams. In the Taranath Buddhism, history of Buddhism in India, we are also having the references of Mahavihar or Mahavihar Vasinam. And in Sanskrit Buddhist text like Audan Kalpalata, we are also having the references of Mahavihar. So, but in the text of Pali commentaries, we are also having the references of Mahallak Bihar, that which were meant for the great number of monks there. So in that sense, it can be presumed or it can be said that Mahavihar as a center of higher Buddhist educations in India or in outside India, as a term Mahabihariya is generally used in monastic sealings of the northern India. So even if you see in Nalanda, we are having so many ceilings which are available, and in some of the seals of the Nalanda, we are having the references of Sri Nalanda Mahabihar Bhikkhu Sanghasa. So this is available in all the ceilings of Nalanda. And if you go through the ceilings of the Nalanda, then you will also find that how a Dhamra Chakra is being flanked by the two deers. If you see that in all the ceilings of Nalanda, we are having that a Dhamma Chakra is being flanked by the two deers. So here Dhamma Chakra signifies the first servant of the Buddha, that is the Dhammachakkapavatana Sutta, which was a priest at Sarnath, Varanasi, Isipatan, Migdai. And the two deers signifies the Sarnath also. And even in the Dharma Chakra, that there are the 12 spokes which are available in. So here Anulomana and Patilomana of the law of dependent originations, they have signified there. And these signifies that how at Bodh Gaya, Buddha got enlightenment of having the Abhijja Pache Sankhara to Jati Jara Marana and Patilom also. So here Dhamma Chakra represents the law of dependent originations, having 12 links in Anulomana and Patilomana. But again, we are also having 24 types of relations also. In Pathan, the seventh text of Abhidhamma Pitaka, and it can be said that these 24 types of relations are the extension of these 12 types of law of dependent originations. So this is the Nalanda, and what was the role of the Mahavihar as a center for higher Buddhist education? So they were imparting theoretical knowledge by reading the Shastras, and they were also following the meditational practices by following the 13 types of austere practices, technically known as Dhutangas. Dhutangas are 13 number, and these were meant for washing away the immoral factors for the monks and nuns. So the role of the Mahavihar as a higher center learning, we are also having that how Mahavihar was imparting the art of painting also. In the Chulabag also we are having that how Buddha sanctions the decoration of the Biharas with the paintings of other designs of creepers and flowers. And he also not allowed to the monks for having any conjugal picture of the men and the women on the walls of the monasteries or any you can say Adjog Prasad Mahavihar. So these we are having that how Mahavihar was imparting the introduction of art of painting also. So Biharaj were also responsible for the dissemination of the Buddhist doctrinal system, especially the Pariyatti and Padipatti, and how it was imparted to the Tibet, China, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, or Thailand, Laos. So we are having that this is center of great learning as a traditional learning, how they were introduced in our South Asian countries. So even till now in Sri Lanka also, in Myanmar also, we are having this traditional type of in Kelaniya University or Vidyodaya Parivena or in State Pariyatti University of Myanmar. This is system of Nalanda Mahavihar system of Buddhist education is still being followed. And so, though in that way, the Biharas and the Mahaviharas were devoted for the also composition of the new text also, as we are having the references that in no Bihar of Afghanistan, until unless a person does not compose a new text, he cannot be admitted in that no Bihar. So these were the, you can say, Biharas, how they were developing, but there were downfalls in the system of Buddhist educations also. And how at the time of Atis Dipankara, we are having that how the monks were degrading their moral ideas or moral ethics, and later how Atis Dipankar gives all the system of Buddhist ethics in our guidance. And again, Acharya Santi Dev, who composed Bodhi Charja Avatar, we are also having that how for the inculcation of the human values and the moral values, how he has given the chapters and how for the development of mind, he gives more emphasis on the Bodhichitta. And in that Bodhicharya Avatar, we are also having for the development of this Nalanda Mahavihar system of Buddhist education. So he gave more emphasis on the moral ethics, and that Buddhist moral ethics was mainly based upon the intention and behavior. Here, intention, I mean to say that Buddhist system of education was mainly based upon the, that is the intention. Here, intention is called as Chetana. Chetana bhikkhave kammam badami. That O monks, I call consciousness as evolution. So here, all the, you can say, intentions are being guided by our Chetana, or you can say volition. So again, the behavior, we are also having that how behavior, that is the charya or charika, has been defined as abhisamacharika or uttam charika. So here, abhisamacharika or good behavior is in the sense of following the refraining from the panatipata, adinadana, kamesu mikshachara, Isuna vacha, Farusa vacha, Samfalapa, Musavada, Pisuna vacha, Farusa vacha, Samfalapa, and the right livelihood, that is the Samma Ajiv. These eight were consisting the good behavior. that is the Abhisamacharika, or you can say Uttam Charika, that is the good behavior. So these two intentions and behaviors were given more emphasis by the later acharyas for the development of human values and inculcation of the moral values among the monks and nuns. And again, students who are residing in our monasteries or center of learning, they were also asked to cultivate in pursuit of the Dhamma in general and for the lesson in particular. So this is the, and is still that type of system of Buddhist education is still being followed in Tibet also. And we are having that how in Tibet, the Tibetan Lamas who are living here, they are also following the same system of Buddhist education. So what we are having in Nalanda Mahavihar at the 6th century. After that, how this so I am not going to discuss that how there was a fall of system of Buddhist educations in India, but how these were developed later on. So now we are having that how this there is a need in the present pandemic COVID-19, that how system of Buddhist educations which were available in Nalanda Mahavihar or in Odantapuri Mahavihar, they were mainly devoted for the moral values. So this is the moral values which were mainly devoted for the cultivation of our human values. So the Biharaj or Mahabihar were development for the society inculcating moral and ethical values. So here ethical values, I mean to say that how they were developing the bodhicitta, and there are two aspects of the bodhicitta, Paramartha bodhicitta and Samriddhi bodhicitta. Under the Paramartha bodhicitta, there is a concept which is mainly discusses about the you can say cognizance of the there is a there is how cognizance there is a our phenomena that all things are subject to impermanence, all things are subject to suffering, and all dhammas are subject to soulless. So in that way, the many here it is said that so I have still time 5 minutes or 7 minutes. I will conclude my.
Yeah, you can conclude.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So just within 5 7 minutes, I am going to conclude.
Sure.
If I have time, then I can continue. Otherwise, I will stop here.
Sir,
So
yeah, we are running short of time, so you can
yes, yes.
do it fast.
So that system of Buddhist education was mainly the inculcation of the character development and building. How there is a need of development of right understanding in our present day education system. So this there are as we know that in our present pandemic time, and all the teachings of the Buddha, which are mainly based upon the reasoning, logic, and discrimination also. So if you follow the Panch Mahavidyas, which are mainly Hetu Vidya, Sabd Vidya, Silpa Vidya, Chikitsa Vidya, Adhyatma Vidya. These five types of Vidyas which were available in our Mahavihara system of Buddhist educations. So if you follow these Panch Mahavidyas, then we can develop a sense of our empathy towards the society also. And this wholly there is a need of also how this education can be developed as a holistic educations, that is the samagra bodh siksha, and how this is holistic educations along with the community of the people can be developed. Again, we are having the references of the secular ethics, that here secular ethics, whatever we are having now in Nalanda system of Buddhist educations, that there was much importance on the secular ethics. And in the Mahaparibhana Sutta also we are having the references of Satta Aparihaniya Dhamma. And under the Satta Aparihaniya Dhamma, we are having that how there was more emphasis the preservation of the chaityas and the temples and respect of the senior and older persons, respect to the women and ladies also. And this secular ethics is here means that how we are bound to respect the other religions also, other temples or custom and traditions also. So there is a need of present time that how the Buddhist system of education can be followed. So there are three types of social, emotional, and ethical learning, mainly awareness, compassion, and engagement. So here awareness is nothing but how the physical movement of our body, that is the smriti and samprajaya, becoming aware of all these four kinds of our awareness which are available in Satipatthana Sutta. So this is the, you can say, how this awareness related with our society and the common people and the community people can be developed. And second aspect, that is the compassion. Here compassion is nothing only for the verbal sympathy by seeing of the suffering of others, but how you make an effort to remove the suffering of others. And par dukhe haday kampanam ti karuna. And here that how kamiti dukkham runati ti tam pavisati, that how you are making an effort for entering into the suffering of others and making an effort to remove that, that is the compassion. So through this teachings which are available in the Nalanda Mahavihar system of education, so we can also take applicable in our society. And third aspect is engagement, that how we are engaging ourselves with the community, with the family members, with the society, and with the country also. So in that way, that is the need of the time, that how we are making an effort of that. So this is the now in the concept note of this challenges and perspectives of this archaeology, there was also given artificial intelligence. So there is a need of a artificial intelligence and even emotional intelligence also. So emotional intelligence is that type of intelligence that how you manage the things in a successful manner. So how the teachings of the Buddha are managing in a successful manner, we have to make a implement or how we have to make a engagement of that. So through there are five, you can say, due to lack of time, I'm not going to elaborate, but making ourselves aware from the all the people of the society, making regulating self and others also, and motivating the other people by, you can say, right efforts and empathy, that is the removing the suffering of others, and social skills, that how we are engaging for the development of the common people. So these are the, you can say, the things. So now there is a need of time, that how we should our control our wrong emotions also, which are available in the form of hatred, antipathy, fear. These are the mental factors which are arising in our mind. So in Buddhist educations, we are also having the references that how positive mental factors can be developed by removing this antipathy, fear, and other things, and developing the maitri, friendliness, or compassion, karuna, how we can develop human values in the society. So now there is a policy last year, the government of India under the Ministry of Education as well as Ministry of Tourism, they have developed a program that is the revival of India as a global center of Buddhist culture and tourism. So under this culture, they have making they are making a proposal of that how there can be a revival of India through the development of Buddhist culture as well as tourism. So, being a archaeologist and those who are conserving our cultural heritage, so there is a need of that. So now I am concluding my talk that this Buddhist system of education in India and other South Asian countries brings forth from the ground on the Buddhist canonical text and memorization. Again, it is said that whether this Buddhist system of education give critical analysis and application those texts in real life situation or not, whether the teachings of the Buddha are applicable nowadays or not. So this is the questions. So it can be said that when apply or engage the teachings of the Buddha in our day-to-day life, we can overcome the problems coming in the society or in the country also. So there is another aspect that whether there is the promotion of critical analysis of the Buddhist text and the deconstruction of the Buddhist teachings, there is no more personal transformation and getting a state of eternal bliss. Rather, it becomes a tool for transforming Buddhism as an academic discipline. It is not like that, but we have to develop that how things can be see applied in our day-to-day life. So it can be presumed that Indian scholars from the time of Nalanda Mahavihar and others like Acharya Santidev or Ratish Dipankara, they gave much importance to the Buddhist educations for the cultivation of the moral ethics or human values from the very beginning of the period, our system of Buddhist educations. In fact, long before, after the virtual disappearance of the Buddhism, they continue to maintain contact with other scholars of the Tibet also, not to fall off the Nalanda Mahavihar system of Buddhist discussions. When Nalanda Mahavihar was destroyed by Turks' invention and others, it was not, still there was making contact of scholars with the Tibet, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Thailand, and we are having the references that how along with the Nalanda, there were some Biharas which were imparting Buddhist system of Buddhist educations after the disappearance of Buddhism at Nalanda Mahavihar. So they paid almost as important as a part system of schools of India in preserving of the present time much of the Indian thought and traditional system of educations of that country. So if you can follow this Buddhist educations and the values which are available in as a part of Pariyatti and Patipatti, we can also make overcome of the challenges overcoming in our society in this pandemic time. So thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to share my views on this webinar. So thank you very much for giving me an opportunity. Thank you very much.